I just started the live stream. I think we've got about half a minute to go. Oh, 5:30 on my clock.
All right, well, take your time. When you're ready, let me know.
Go ahead.
You are, okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to the City of Middleton Finance and Personnel Committee. And we'll start off with roll call, Bill.
Nairo,
Here.
Lorman,
Here.
Crow. Here. All are present.
Great, thank you very much. Well, the minutes from the October 21st meeting, I've reviewed them. Members of the committee, do we have any comments or adjustments?
No.
Okay, I'll accept the meetings as submitted. Or we will. Audit of the bills.
I do have one addition to the audited bills this evening. That is for Doc 3 LLC in the amount of $1,125. And this is for, it is a contractor that was working as a expert witness related to a liability claim that our attorneys at Worth and Baynard had contracted with. So this would come out of the risk management fund budget.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion. We'll accept the audit of the bills with the addition of the Doc 3 LLC for $1,125. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All righty. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to resolutions. Resolution 2025-48, rescinding creation of the tax incremental district.
This is an IRO. I move to recommend that council approve resolution 2025-48.
Yes. Oh,
I'll second.
all righty. Any discussion or questions for staff or attorney? All right.
Right at this time.
Okay, well, then, all those in favor of the rescinding resolution 2025-48, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you much. Moving on to agreements and contracts. The first one is a consideration, discussion, and possible action on updated lease with the Central Cross Country Skiing.
I move to recommend that council approve the amended and restated lease with the Central Cross Country Skiing, Inc., subject to city attorney review and approval of final formatting.
All righty, and Lorman will second that. Any discussion or questions for staff or city attorney? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next is the task order number 25-111.2 with Strand Associates for construction-related services for the well number 5 facility. Some modifications to an existing project in an amount not to exceed $180,000, and this comes to us from Public Works.
I move to recommend that the common council approve task order number 25-111.2 for well number 5 facility modifications, construction related services in an amount not to exceed $180,000.
All right, and Thorman will second that. Any questions, discussions for staff? Ben is here. If there are any. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next is a city developer agreement with the 6300 University Avenue MF LLC. Then comes to us from Public Works.
This is an IRO. I move to recommend that council approve the city developer agreement with 6300 University Ave MF LLC.
Right, Norman will second that. Any discussion or questions for staff
I have some.
All right.
So on July 15th, I had requested the addition of the complete streets policy to the list of policies in the template for this document. And I appreciate Alder Myers amending the agreement at the Public Works Committee meeting to add this. He did that on the 27th. But also at the July 15th meeting, I requested that the template incorporate wording to clarify that if streets remain accessible to vehicles, they should remain open to pedestrians and bikes too. And actually, we could add transit stops to that. And along with that, any detours should be pre-planned, publicized in advance, reasonable and well-marked. And ADA compliance is important as well. And I said at the time that all these things are as important as the erosion control requirements in the agreement. And so I'm going to reiterate my quest to have the Public Works Department and the city attorney and the committee review documents and determine where we can insert this language. And I'm wondering, I'll ask the city attorney, is it possible to incorporate that language into this CDA?
Yeah, we could, if you amend the motion to require final city attorney approval, I can go in and work with Ben to find the right spot to put that language.
Okay, I'm seeing Ben nodding, so I will go ahead and make that, well, I'll move to amend the motion to make the action subject to city attorney review and approval of the final language to incorporate wording regarding complete streets access.
All right, Lorman, second that. Any discussion on that point? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and item number 4 is just a duplication
Well,
of,
we-
I'm sorry.
That was the
That was the
amendment.
Oh. All right,
And I did have another question, is on page 91, the date, November 30th is listed, and I'm just wondering, is that date still doable for? Where is it? It's in paragraph 23, the provision shall be satisfied no later than November 30th.
Ben's thinking.
Yeah, developer.
Might need to turn that on.
Oh, sorry.
This is Ben from Public Works. The developer did review this, so I'm under the assumption that this would be doable on their end as well. But I will confirm with them and
Okay.
make sure that this works.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so back to the first motion.
I did have one more question.
Oh, sorry.
On page 100, the fee in lieu of tree planting is $420 per tree, and it said that's the 2025 fee. And I'm wondering, how often is that fee updated and what costs does that cover? Is that the purchase price, the installation? Do we have to water it?
That fee is reviewed on an annual basis in our December meeting. And we looked at that this last year and set that our same price there. The installation, it covers the installation, the tree and the watering. So and we are looking at the first structural prune, but that in the future, but it's considered a maintenance item. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks, Kylie.
Okay, so back to the first motion to approve the developer agreement with UAMF LLC. All those in favor of that,
The amended
the amended motion,
motion? Okay. Yep.
please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And on to the next item. Bids and quotes. For bid to Olympic Builders General Contractors for well number 5 facility modification project in the amount not to exceed $2,069,155, subject to city attorney approval for any associated contracts.
This is Soniro. I move to recommend the council approve the award of bid as described, subject to city attorney approval of any associated contracts and in an amount not to exceed $2,069,155.
Thank you, and Lorman. Second that. Any questions for staff?
I had a question and a comment. So the cost is $169,155 more than budgeted, but this is coming from the water utility, so that's not a problem, correct?
Yeah, I believe there's overall budget authority within the water utility to cover that overage.
Okay, and then I just want to reiterate that we spend $260,000 on power for our wells, and I really would like to see solar be included in the rehab of well number 5. That's just my advocacy for doing what we can to achieve our climate goals and reduce our energy costs.
Any questions, Randall? All right. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? All right. So that brings us to the end of bids and quotes and on to the budget deliberation and recommendations if necessary.
Yeah, I don't have anything prepared to present at the committee tonight. I do have a brief presentation on the recommended budget based on the action at the last meeting that I'm planning to go through at the council meeting tonight. Included in your packet are the decision matrices for the general fund operating budget, the decision items for the non-general fund operating items, and for the capital items. And Diego and I have those spreadsheets available. So at this point, I think it's open for any further discussion from the committee on either the operating or capital budget. And if there are other items you'd like to look at, we can bring those up as well.
Sure. Is there anybody would like to start?
Sure. So looking at the operations side, and I'm looking at page 248 of the packet. It looks like we have a $40,012 surplus. Is that correct?
Apologies, we're trying to get a technical thing worked out
Okay.
here,
We can wait.
so we can bring that up. Okay, hopefully Diego should be able to share, and if I heard the question correctly as shown on page 248 and the sheet that Diego is bringing up for the general fund, we are currently showing projected revenues over expenditures of $40,012.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to try again, both Sun Prairie and Verona are including in their general fund budget $40,000 to support their local food pantries, the Sunshine Place in Sun Prairie and the Badger Prairie Needs Network in Verona. Sun Prairie's population is just over 40,000 now. And Verona's is just under 17,000, but Verona has Epic, so I totally understand that they have resources. But I note that, Middleton, we have a population of just under 25,000. Our general fund budget is 14.4, well, the property tax levy. And I feel strongly, I'm sorry, it's 15,405 million. And I feel strongly that we should be including even a small amount of funding to support the social services that are provided to our residents through Way Forward resources. We granted ARPA funds to Way Forward for 3 years. This is the last one for their housing program, specifically for Middleton residents. And I'm wondering if we can add more to supplement that, especially in this time of great need for our residents, and possibly consider doing this annually like our peer cities do. And I'd be curious to know what my fellow members think. If we went with the same percentage of our general fund property tax levy as Sun Prairie, it would be $13,899. 25,000 would be the same amount per person in our population, which is about $1, dollar per person.
My gut says to agree. I know that there might be some objections based on the fact that Way Forward serves people other than just Middleton. Though I would also counter that we should support people no matter what. I do think I've always thought Way Forward does valuable service. I mean, not just for city of Middleton residents, but for the area. And it could be people who work in Middleton and stop by to pick up food or what they need. Even if they don't live in Middleton. So, on the whole, I'm in favor of doing something.
Yeah, but I think it's a noble effort. As Randall echoed, I'm concerned about, that we're spending city of Middleton money, and it could potentially, go to those outside the city. And our fiduciary responsibilities to the citizens of Middleton, and to be very cognizant of, if we have available funds, that money should be made available to the residents in keeping their tax rate as low as possible, and or funding, other city services, which would also serve those who are in great need, like the senior center and entities like that. So I like the idea of a formula. I like the idea of helping Way Forward. The thing is, we're showing partial behavior to Way Forward when there's other social services and agencies and organizations that are all in great need. And we have youth center that provides services to kids after school, and a lot of those kids are in need. So I just caution that it may sound selfish on my part, but it's not the city's responsibility to save the world and everybody in it and around it. And so if we can use money efficiently to specifically provide services to those who are residents of the city of Middleton, if you show up at Way Forward and you show proof of residence or something, I mean, I don't know how we would do that.
I appreciate the members thinking about this. Alder Crow raises a good point that many of the people who use the services at Way Forward or the food pantry specifically work in Middleton and have access because it's local to where they work. One of the reasons I suggested directing funding, at least this year, to Way Forward's housing programs is because that is how the ARPA funds were delivered to Way Forward, with the condition that they use it for Middleton residents only. Fact is, though, when you free up money, 20,000 is what, or 40,000, I guess, is what they received this year for that housing program. When you direct money to the housing program, you don't have to come up with that money for food. So now, but if we were to give them more, they could, money's fungible, so they'd have more funding to spend on food. And I think that's an important goal for us to have. There are also services that they provide. I can't even imagine what's next for the LIHEAP program that funds energy bills, but it's November, so that's important now. I know Way Forward has funding available, or makes funding available to residents who are in need of utility assistance, car repair, so that they can continue to get to their jobs. And so I feel like they would be able to direct the funding, any funding that this committee or this council would include in our budget. They would be able to target specifically Middleton residents. But at the same time, that would free up some of their existing funds to buy food for our residents and others as well.
Yeah, I think if the money is going to be spent in Middleton for Middleton residents, I think that's fine. And especially in the areas of housing, heat, utilities, things like that. Because then, you know, they're presenting a bill, they're, hey, I live in Middleton and I need some assistance with my utilities and things like that. And let them figure out internally to move their resources around. I don't know if we can specify it that way in some kind of written agreement to simply say, we're giving you a block of money, it can only be spent on Middleton residents. It's up to you on how you do it. I mean.
Bill,
obviously-
what do you think?
Yeah, I think that you could potentially identify, just as a condition of the giving, that that these funds be allocated to Middleton residents and ask them to be able to account for that. As you had noted, you know, they have other funds for other resources and money can be moved around within their budget. But I think if that provides some comfort, we could just ask them for documentation that these funds were used for City of Middleton. And I think that would work somewhat similar to what we did with the ARPA funds.
And as you recommended, 13,000, you know, a year or.
Well, I'm going to recommend the 25,000, which would be the same $1 per person as Sun Prairie does. Verona is at like $2 per person population wise, but I think that's beyond us. And I hear your point about wanting to reduce property taxes for our residents, but $25,000 is, you know, divided by 3, you know, that's $8.
Well, it's, you know.
I know it's something, but it's,
I just reflect what my constituents say and, I think, it would be very difficult for them to argue, you know, I think we don't have, I'm not gonna argue over $5,000 this way or that way. But I think when we say to them, the money stays in Middleton and it's helping Middleton residents, then to look someone straight in the face and say, so you don't want to help people who live in Middleton?
love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor. So I, you know, I like using technical ways to ensure that we're doing that. So,
Well, then I guess I would, when we get to the motion stage, I would like to move that we add or include in the motion $25,000 for, to be allocated to Way Forward Resources specifically for Middleton residents. City of Middleton residents.
okay. We have a second? All right, I mean, sorry.
Was that a motion?
That's the motion.
Do we
Yes.
want
Or do we-
motions as we go along, Bill, or just one big motion at the end?
I think whatever you would prefer. We can do
Okay,
it
then
either
I'll
way.
move to,
Let's keep it line item.
yeah, I'll
Keep
move
track of
to
it.
add to the budget, $25,000 for Way Forward Resources to be allocated to Middleton, City of Middleton residents.
And I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, no opposed.
Great, thank you.
I've gone through this again. Don't have a lot of input, I think, since our last meeting.
I have a question for our city Parks and Recreation Director. I'm gonna ask, why doesn't everybody sit in that front row? That's what I totally would,
Just like
you know, be
this, right?
sitting there. So Kylie, if we take 25 out of this, that leaves 15,000. Would that help at all with the seasonal staffing support for parks, forestry and conservancy lands?
Definitely, we would like to use it to increase the starting or the base wage for seasonals, but also increase the hours for conservancy lands and forestry.
Okay, then I guess I will move to allocate $15,012 to Parks, Recreation, Forestry, and Conservancy Lands, item number 5, seasonal staffing support.
And I'll second that.
Okay. What did I think? I just wanted to, yep, we're good. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Right.
Um, any other capital project? I mean, any other operations for general fund? I have some for the non-general fund. Some suggestions, and these are just, requests. So for the airport expenditures, show $8,333 for the entitlements match. And I want to make sure that's correct because the capital projects page for airport capital projects shows 28,000. And, well, it doesn't say it's matching, but it's, is this the,
I can go to airport under the,
So this would be,
I just want to make sure that the
Uh.
number is correct. Because if the airport's budget assumes only $8,333 in capital expenses in our operating side, but the actual projects that we're going to be investing in requires a $28,000.
stop sharing.
Yeah, I'm trying to
the
figure
rest
out.
of that would be coming from grant assurances, correct, Bill?
Well, the grant, so I'm looking at page 251 of our packet, tonight's packet.
Yeah,
So it says for user fees and department revenues, the total for the airport, and I assume that's Airport Enterprise Fund, is $28,000. And then grants, donations and other is 332,000. And I just want to make sure that that 28,000, if that's really what we're estimating, is included in the operating budget.
Yeah, that was, sorry, the city administrator Gatto. That was my best estimate based upon the different projects that we had in the capital plan and the feedback we got from BOA. I can go back and verify that, but based upon my previous conversation with the BOA, that 28,000 was about our share of the various projects that were in 2026.
Okay, and so Brian, do you agree then? I mean, am I right in understanding that that should be reflected on in the airport's, the entire budget for the Airport Enterprise Fund?
You mean on the operating side? Yeah, it could be. Yep.
Okay, so is that clear with that's just a change or I mean, it's not a recommended amendment. It's just making sure that this number shows up.
In a different column.
Well, no, it shows up in the operating budget for the airport.
yeah, in this sheet is what you're referring to, that's reflected within these numbers in the
Yep.
operating budget. Yeah, we can make that up.
Yeah, the entitlements match on
Yep.
this page should be updated to reflect that 28,000. And then I think going forward, it would be useful to separate out the navigation easement and legal fees as separate line items, because we do have somewhere the other, the other category, and those expenses are getting, I mean, it's becoming a larger line item because of the navigation easement. So I just think that would be an improvement to separate that out.
Okay.
And then, sorry to do this to you, Diego, but I had a question about the transit fund in the miscellaneous or the non-general fund revenue side. And that is, there's no investment income listed for the transit fund, but it was a pretty big amount in the fund. So I'm wondering, and this is, yeah, it's page 182 of the budget. And I am really sorry, Diego. In retrospect, I should have told you what files I would be asking about. It's just that the fund shows a balance of, 300,000 thereabouts,
Let me share, I can bring up.
but it doesn't show any investment income. And I'm wondering why that's the case, because that's enough to generate some interest.
Yeah, I have the Transit Services Fund page from the operating budget book up here, and you're correct, there is no investment income listed. There is enough fund balance that there would be some investment income. That income would be applied to the fund. It probably would be reasonable to make an estimate for that and include it here. I suspect that the reason that hasn't been in here because we originally were doing transit as part of the general fund, and then we've moved it over to the Transit Services Fund, and we now have a balance that's being carried from year to year. So it would certainly be appropriate to look at an estimate. I would probably take an estimate of about 3% of the average fund balance, which is around 300,000. So perhaps in that $9,000 or $10,000 range.
Okay, just wanted to flag that so that money can be accumulating. And then a few pages earlier on page 179, same document, there's a $35,000 line item in both the 2025 approved budget and the 2026 requested budget, and that's for gift expenditures. That sounds like a lot of gifts. And I'm just wondering, is that necessary? Because the 2025 projected is 1,000 and the 2024 actual is 762. And again, this is page 179 of that same operating budget briefing book.
I'm just trying to find that page. Yeah, I believe this is the page you're looking at for the Senior Center
Yes.
Special Activities Fund. Yeah, and to clarify, the gift expenditures line is not expenditures on gifts, but when gifts are provided to the senior center, that money can be used to purchase special things that aren't normally within the operating budget. That number was just an estimate to try to be on the high side to cover if there are unexpected things that come up during the year. It was not tied to something specific. These special revenue funds typically operate where if there is a special revenue, whether it be a gift donation or item that comes in mid-year, that provides the department overseeing that fund with the authority to make purchases within that budget amount. But there's nothing specific that I'm aware of tied to the 35,000. Senior Center Director Derrickson is on the Zoom if there's any specific questions for her about items they may be anticipating for next year.
No, I think your explanation makes sense. It might be good to, I mean, I get grant expenditures. That one I wouldn't read as we're spending money on grants so much as we have grants and they're spending it, but
Mhm.
gift expenditures.
Yeah.
It didn't look that way. So thank you for clarifying. And then the last one in the the non-general fund operating is on the police department. Well, this is general fund, police department revenue. A constituent reached out today to share an article about Madison testing out a change to their to make their alternate side parking requirements or enforcement begin once the street superintendent declares the first plowing operation or snow emergency, and then it continues through March. And they're also not ticketing, or they may pause ticketing for alternate side parking violations if there are periods when the city doesn't experience snow or ice. I know we receive quite a bit of revenue from parking enforcement, and I think I learned last year that much of that is from the alternate side parking that takes place in winter. And so I'm hoping that the Public Works Department and maybe the Public Safety Committee can look at what Madison's experience is with this pilot that they're doing. And maybe they can recommend a change next year. It's just something to think about because my first reaction when I saw the request from my constituent was, oh, we get a lot of revenue from that. And then it occurred to me, is that right? That we, I don't know if there are certain areas where people are not targeted, but just, where enforcement catches people over and over again. If there isn't a risk of snow, is it really that bad? So anyway, I just bring that up as something for future consideration, certainly not for this year. And then I have questions about capital projects too. So I guess the capital budget would be good to have. So it looks like if the cap is 4.4 million, there could be 34,752 to hit our cap. I would like the members to consider putting back in the Century Avenue road diet study. This is one that has been proposed a few times. It's in planning. Is it planning? No, it's back in, now it's finally in.
Let's see where
There it is. So that is a $40,000 study. We've got 34 left. Maybe there's carryover funds to make up the difference. And it's really important to get this study done so that any reconfiguration of Century Avenue, and it's specifically west of the bridge, but it's important to make sure that study is done in time to do the reconfiguration. If there is something recommended and approved, to do that in sequence with the bridge replacement project in 2027. So next year is really our last year to do this road diet study. And as a refresher, the road diet study would be to look at whether it's feasible to do a configuration similar to Park Street leading to Gammon, where it's single lane with a turn lane and bike lanes as well.
Is that anything that the county would be involved in, or?
Can we have staff address this?
County has jurisdiction over this road. And we reached out to them to ask them their opinion about doing a road diet study or doing a road diet. And they indicated that they would want to see a study done. So that's what led us to get the cost estimate from SRF.
Okay.
County's not saying yes or no, they're just saying you need to provide us with information.
Right.
Or maybe, I don't know if you can answer this, I mean, realistically, from what you know about the design of that road and its traffic, I mean, what are the chances of being able to actually do something with that road? I just feel that it would be really difficult to, considering it's the only thoroughfare through the city.
We would only be looking at the portion west of Branch Street. It wasn't too long ago that there was parking on street there. I don't know if you remember, there were people who would park their car and then set a cone out. So,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it's possible, but I'm not a traffic engineer, so I wouldn't want to speculate. We did not get a hard no from the county. They said, give us the information, study it, do updated traffic counts, and we'll consider it.
Because we really don't have a bicycle path corridor heading west from Branch either.
Right.
I
This
guess.
just would enable us to add one.
Yeah. It would obviously have to be on the street. We wouldn't, we can't, well, we'd have to get the people who agree to give up frontage on their property if we really wanted to do something.
Right. I think the only way the only real feasible way we're gonna be able to get bike infrastructure on Century west of Branch is if we do a road diet. Because otherwise you're negotiating with so many different property owners along that stretch, and you would have to get voluntary compliance from all of them.
Yeah,
I know when this was discussed at the plan commission, there was interest from at least a couple of the plan commissioners. If we were to proceed with, on-street bike infrastructure, that it be a protected lane. That's obviously a future consideration. I know there are concerns from Public Works about maintenance, so that would have to be looked at if we were gonna go forward with that.
and the study would take that into consideration, do you think? Would it really take a good look at potential bike infrastructure?
I think it could consider different alternatives, so just a striped on-street lane, bollards, a fully concrete protected bike lane. It could look at different options.
Because we really don't have a clear path right now to get from that point at Pheasant Branch really over to the new paths that I'm just speaking north-south Parmenter paths. I mean, you have to zigzag through the Conservancy or go way far around, call it north through the new neighborhoods, Graber, and I could see a future there.
So is there maybe support? Putting it back in?
Support.
Okay, then I will move to restore to the capital budget.
What page is that on? I'm looking at 248, 249, 250.
Let me catch up to you guys.
So we got,
So it's 254. All right, so I move to restore to the capital project budget.
we have there, item number 7.
Item number 7, under Public Works Other, Century Avenue Road Diet Study. With 34,752 coming from borrowing and 5,248 coming from carryover.
Bill's working the spreadsheet. See how that works out.
I'll get the column fixed, but I've got the essence
Okay.
of what your motion is.
All right, so that was my motion.
And I'll second.
All right. All in favor of the motion that's been stated without having to reread it, please say aye.
I
Okay.
I have a few more. This isn't in our budget, but I want to mention it for future. Perhaps you all have heard concerns from constituents about our trucks idling constantly at events like the Good Neighbor Festival. And that doesn't help us reach our clean energy goals. It seems wasteful and it makes the air smell bad. So I sent Brad Hopwood and Kelly Hilliard some information on battery auxiliary power units that Sun Prairie is going to be getting a grant for installing in their fire engines specifically. And I suggested that might be technology to use in the future. So I just wanted to put that out there, that maybe in a future budget, we can look at that. I had some questions about the airport the airport capital projects, going back up to page 251. The consultant services for the north-south runway approaches. Can anyone explain what that project is? Maybe
Brian's there.
Brian's on.
I mean, I really can't in any detail.
Okay.
other
Yeah,
than-
It's just to kind of survey the scene from a real estate standpoint in terms of what might possibly be needed for any of those options that are in the master plan, but it doesn't commit the city to any sort of, action based upon that information.
So survey from a real estate perspective for the purposes of acquiring land?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. In the, well, I guess that's something to be determined. And then the purchase of new mowing equipment for use in field maintenance. I would love to see that be an electric mower.
Yeah, I got a spec from the Parks Department on a piece of equipment that they use, so that would be the spec that I would work with the BOA on.
Okay, that's good. And then the rehabilitate runway 1028, construction in 2027. When has the design work been done, or when will that be done and showing up in the budget?
Still waiting on the BOA to finalize the scoping for that. So as soon as I get that information, I'll update the CIPs.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay. That's all I had for capital, except for the vehicle replacement plan. It's my last one. And I'm looking now at page 80 of the capital budget document. Not tonight's packet.
This is the one that's just on the website.
Yeah, this is the one that's been out since, I guess, September 19th or something. So I'm looking at page 80 where the golf course talks about their fully up battery powered greens mowers and how good they are. They go on to talk about purchasing rough mowers. Sorry, go ahead. So I'm on page 80 of the capital budget, and it's the greens mower for golf course. And I'm bringing this up because I want the public works mower.
Do you have that, bring that up on screen, Bill?
We're
or do you-
working on bringing that
Thank
up.
you, because what I'm looking at is,
Yeah, I don't see.
it's totally different on my page.
For the capital budget.
Ugh.
Oh, you got it.
Okay, so now it's on the screen.
Thank you.
So I just bring this up because the greens mower on this page, and then there's also a rough mower, and a T mower. The golf course is like really into, they have autonomous mowers. They're very much into using fully battery powered, non-polluting mowers. And they have a lot of grass to maintain. And I'm thinking, if they can do that, why can't other departments? And so thinking about the John Deere 1600 turbo mower, if the golf course is interested in green mowers, what can we do to get Public Works to do that too? So I would like to replace that one in the budget with either the mean green or another option, because it said the mean green had less of a shorter lifespan, which is what, even though the purchase price was less for the mean green, it would last fewer years. So the price, the total cost per year for the John Deere was actually less. I'm not sure, I can't attest to whether those are realistic or not. Yes, Kylie?
So this is Parks mower that you're referencing. I did look into EV options. We've switched over and reduced our non-electric mowers. And so over the course of the last few years, we cannot operate our system without having two large deck mowers, and that's what we currently have. And we have at least I don't know the entire width deck, but we two larger decks to be able to keep pace with the staff load that we have. And we are continuing to look into EV options for that. But we can't reduce those to larger mowers. I gotta.
And this mower, thank you, and my apologies for thinking this was Public Works. This is a mower from 2018 and it's in need of replacement.
That is, what was recommended by, Ron, our mechanic, as we're looking through all the parks. On an annual basis to review, what our highest needs are for the parks department, and that was, I think, to keep moving along through the system. Of replacements.
Okay, and there's no 121-inch deck on an EV?
There isn't, it's limited, and I do not know off the top of my head, so I don't want to spell it out.
Okay.
The width right now, I do have that written in my notes, and I have to look it up and tell you.
It's okay, I appreciate.
There isn't a larger deck option, for a commercial mower, that we're trying to look at, so we can, mow all the spaces, and also what's difficult, with some of the heat mowers is, a difference with the, golf courses, all that, the land is very, maintained, and there isn't a lot of running or, grade, that has to be, or that's in play as much as, all the lands that we, maintain. So it is a different, ball game when we get to comparing golf course land to, some of the very rough land, non-park trails and all that, we have to get through, so.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you.
So Bill, do you need a motion from us to forward the budget on to council or?
Yeah, we typically do a final motion to just recommend the budget as amended in total to the council.
All right, then I will move to recommend the budget for 2026 as amended tonight to council for approval.
Okay, Lorman will second that. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for your diligence. I don't know how you do it. Maybe I don't want to know how you
It's
do
a
it.
blessing and a curse to just see things.
Here's the shopping list.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I understand. Okay, miscellaneous. We have the 2025 third quarter investment report. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you. In your packet, you have the investment reports for July, August, and September. Looking first at the yield, looking at the graph on the top, it's been fairly consistent over the last 12 months. We have started to see some reductions in the Federal Reserve rate, which affects short-term interest rates. And in September, that's the first month where the 90-day Treasury bill has dipped below the city's weighted average portfolio yield. And we expect that the LGIP, which is currently the highest of those three, will follow that as investments roll over. Our strategy remains very similar overall. We are holding a significant portion of our available funds in cash or shorter term investments, including the local government investment pool, where we have approximately $20 million. Part of why we're holding those additional funds in immediately available investments is because of the closure of TIF District number 3. We're anticipating that in February of next year that we will be exercising our option to prepay a lot of the remaining development TIF bonds that are out there, and then setting up escrows for other remaining costs. We're also making final payments for the Pleasant View Road reconstruction project and the Parmenter reconstruction project, and then setting that up for that TID to be finally closed out And of course, the increment that's going to be received this year will go into a new fund for the affordable housing extension. Other than those funds that we're keeping in cash or very short term, we're looking at balancing investments out over 5 years. As investments have been maturing, I've been looking at rates in the 3 to 5 year range, locking in where I can with non-callable investments. Treasury bills have generally provided the highest yield, but we are trying to diversify and pick up some bank CDs, which typically we can go out to 3 years and get those collateralized just to keep the mix of our portfolio. Looking at the pie chart, as you can see, we have a very diversified portfolio with the different banks that we're using, the LGIP, federal agencies, and US Treasuries. And our goal is to continue to try to provide stability in the investments. So by locking in with some of those investments in the 3 to 5 year range, that provides us with some cushion as interest rates we anticipate continue to decrease over the next coming years, that we will have some investments locked into rates in that 3 to 5 year time period so that we won't take an immediate hit in our operating budget from a reduction in the investment income. With that, be happy to answer any questions either about the report or about our strategy in general.
None.
Okay.
Okay. Future agenda items. There are any specific to get into?
I
Or
just-
we'll forward that to myself and Bill.
I'll just mention one that we talked about briefly last time, and that is, or when we talked about the vehicle replacement fund, our informal but seemingly rigid practice of going with Ford or vehicles when we don't have that as a policy or an actual agreement. I just feel like that's something this committee should discuss in the future.
Just also report that there was a request a couple meetings ago before we got into the budget in detail to look at the community campus plan and financing costs and projections. That is something that we've been working on. We've just been waiting until we get through the budget work to bring that so we can focus more time on that. So we'll have that in the next meetings coming up.
Anything, any thoughts, future agenda items? Okay. Nothing come to mind for me. All right, everybody. Well, then with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.